Hello everyone. We're still out camping tonight. I wanted to go over some basics about how to take some sunset pictures. For those of you who have seen some of my previous videos, I went over some basic camera settings. Now I'm going to kind of take that to the next step. So I'm not going to use the camera this time, but just give you some basic ideas of what you can do when you're shooting into the sun. So what we have here, this is the lake I'm camping next to. There you can see the sun is just above the horizon out there. You can see it blowing out the field right above there. So this camera does a pretty good job of keeping everything in a relatively good exposure. However, your typical DSLR cameras aren't quite as good at that. I've done some pictures with the iPhone, and it's actually better at dealing with the high dynamic range that this produces. So, let's say you want to take this picture right here. If you want to get everything in the kind of color that you can see with just your eye, you're going to have to take multiple exposures and combine them in a high dynamic range shot. So what that means is you're going to have to set up on a tripod or make sure you're holding in exactly the same position. From here, you would set your shutter speed where you want it, and set your depth of field with your f-stop where you want that. Now I would probably go for a relatively tight shutter, so like an f/18 or an f/22, so I can get everything in the shot in focus, and then adjust my ISO and my shutter speed to give me the kind of exposure I'm after. So what you would do is use the meter inside your camera, and you can tell there's a bar that'll allow you to move the slider left and right. As you adjust your shutter speed, it'll change that. So overexposed is to the right, underexposed is to the left. So as we change that, if we increase the shutter speed, make it shoot faster, then we're going to underexpose the shot. If we decrease the shutter speed, make it hold that shutter open longer, that's going to overexpose the shot. So what you would want to do in this position is take a shot that's right in the middle, and then you want to take about 2 shots on each side. So you would increase your shutter speed by 1 or 2 notches, take another picture, do it again, take another picture, go back to the middle. Then decrease your shutter speed by 1 or 2 notches, take another shot, and do the same thing again, take another shot. So you have about 4 pictures that are exposed across a central range. Then what you're going to do is combine those shots in your after editing on your computer. So there are a bunch of programs out there that can do that. I've actually taken a few pictures here, and I'll see if I can show you what that looks like later on. Other things you can do with the sun in this position. So we can move off to the side a little bit here, where we still get some of the color of the sunset, yet the sun itself is behind the tree. So that helps quite a bit. We can also use, if you see it down there, the coloring off the side of the grill. That can be helpful to give you some extra life to the picture. So by taking the sun out of the shot, that allows us to get a little more detail in the rest of it here. It also means that I can adjust a little bit more. Let's come over to here. There, you see how some of those leaves on the trees to the left are starting to brighten up a little bit? So we can take this at an angle and get a little more out of the foreground from that. Now another thing you can do, and I really love doing this, you can silhouette objects. Let's see. So if I took the shot from right about here, I can silhouette that chair. Now what I would do is expose for the background. So you want to focus on the middle distance of the lake right about out there somewhere. And what that's going to do, that meter inside your camera is now going to be exposed based on where it needs to be for the background, the brighter portion of this picture. So you'll adjust your settings. Again, I would pick an f-stop for my aperture to give me a pretty broad depth of field, trying to keep everything in focus if I can. Then what I would do is adjust my shutter speed in such a way that I was centered on that, maybe even a little bit dark, but not much, And what that's going to do, that means that this chair right here and the grill are going to just turn black. So you're just going to get them as a silhouette with the background showing up very nicely. So you'll get the ripples on the water that aren't actually showing up in the camera here. And your entire foreground, all of this gravel out in here, is going to go dark as well. Now you could do a high dynamic range combination here as well, where you would take pictures on the brighter side that are exposed for the dark areas down here and the chair, and then take a few that are really stopped down, so a small shutter or a quick shutter speed that would allow you to bring the background into focus as well. And then just combine those pictures as a stack on top of each other later on in the computer. So let me take a couple of pictures, and I'll see if there's any way for me to include these at the end of the video. I'm not very good at being able to get them on the video as I go, but I'll try to do that and see if I can't show you what I'm doing here. Okay, I want to show you what I did down here. So the sun is completely down now. The shot I just took was a little while ago, so it had a little bit of coloring of the clouds that you can't see. But what I did, by setting my camera settings to an f-stop of an f-stop of 14 and a shutter speed of 1/60th of a second, what I got was this. So I know it's not in the greatest view, but what we have is, I'm at 75 millimeters, and I got the umbrellas over there on the beach section silhouetted against the sunset. So I will see if I can't move this picture into the video later on. We'll see if I can show you a better view of it. But this is what I'm talking about with silhouettes. So you can frame things, you can put silhouettes in, you can do all kinds of things to really bring the colors out. And I know because the camera is trying to focus in on the foreground, the background is really blurred out. Let me see if I can get a little closer over here and see if you can actually see what it looks like. There we go, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so this is the kind of color scheme that I'm working with here. And you can see from this angle, we have a little bit of shading in the water. We've got some reflection from some of the clouds, and then we've got the coloration of the sky. So I'm going to see if I can take that shot. There we go. Set you down. There we go. So that's what we have right there. So you can see that the coloration showed up a little bit better on the camera. And what I did, I actually exposed it appropriately for this. I'm not under or overexposed. So now what I'm going to do, if you can see it over there, I think you just barely can. We're getting a little bit of red on the clouds, just over the horizon there. I'm going to see if I can. Zoom way in here. Okay, so what I did in this case, let me see what you can see here. Okay, yeah, so again, you're not zoomed in very well, but we do have some coloration in the bottom of the clouds, and I am currently zoomed into 250 millimeter. I reset my shutter speed to 1/80th of a second so I can freehand the camera effectively, and I turned up my ISO to 500. So by doing that, that gave me this shot. So you can see we get a lot more of the color out of it, and the umbrellas do show up some, and they show up better in the actual shot, not the videoed version of it. But definitely getting some coloration there that I like. The entire height from right here all the way up to there. I'm going to take a vertical shot, about like this. Okay. Let me show you what that looks like. There we go. So by taking the vertical, I was able to remove a large part of the lake from the shot. And what I ended up with, you can see the plants along the shoreline are silhouetted. So are the trees. And then I've got some nice coloration around the beach out there. So again, I'll see if I can put this into the video a little bit later on as an actual image. And we'll see what we get. So I'll see you over the next horizon.